Welcome back to the Thread podcast, where we explore the real struggles and real wins of entrepreneurs across the country. I'm your host, Harrison Howard, and today I am joined by Bill Dolan at Spirit Media. Bill, it's great to have you on.
Great to be here, Harrison.
Super stoked to get you here. You have an incredible story. I guess we'll usually jump in talking about how you get started in your business and what that looks like. What do you have for us? What's that story that brought you here?
Well, I've been in the television media industry for decades, and I mean decades. I started certainly as a kid, like probably a lot of kids, watching TV in their bedroom and watching motion pictures. And somewhere along the way, you fell in love with storytelling and the idea of using moving pictures and characters to tell stories and take people on adventures. And I was definitely one of those people that got sucked into it, not realizing that while I was somewhat escaping some of the difficult issues I was facing as a child, I was learning from the masters, watching great films. So by the time I got through high school, I thought, okay, I want to pursue this. And I actually started in college as a part of a TV program, thinking that I was going to be maybe a television reporter or something, tell stories. It turned out I had a knack for directing. And my professor pulled me in one day and told me that, I will just say this, that when you're in this field or any field, if you find anybody that believes in you and gives you that word, and maybe you're the one that's supposed to give that word, that can mean so much to people, no matter how old they are. Because that validation, when we live in a world that's constantly questioning our value, questioning our ability, questioning even our dreams, to have that person in our life can truly change your life. And he did. I remember Ralph telling me, "You're a great director." And it so motivated me that I got an internship at the ABC affiliate in our region. And there's a whole story behind that. But I'll just say I started young and I was just so blessed, and I learned from the best directors, producers, writers, agency people, celebrities, talent across every side of the media industry. Built that career out for 12 years, married my high school sweetheart. But along the way, my wife kind of pointed out, look, if we want to start a family, we got to figure out how to pay for it. And while it sounds glamorous to say, well, I'm a television director. Look, it doesn't mean that I am, Steven Spielberg. It meant that I'm a television director and I get a salary. And I had to figure out, well, how am I going to make ends meet? So I began looking at alternative ways to make money. And I think a lot of us, especially in today's economy, are looking at alternative forms of income, saying, what could I do here? What could be a side hustle? Well, it turned out that my side hustle, again, I'll cut this story short, turned out to be event directing, because someone along the way said, wait a minute, we do shows and events and you're a director, and maybe you could help us direct this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out that directing live events is a lot like directing live television. But I will say this, there's a lesson there. And here's the lesson. Don't sit on the couch waiting for opportunity. Just don't sit. Go out there, fall on your face, make mistakes, meet people, connect with people. Being proactive means that you will probably fail faster, but it also means you'll uncover opportunity sooner. And you never know what opportunity is right around the corner, just on the other side of the door, that's screaming, open the door, come out here and take it. Don't wait for me to come in there and pound on the door and say, this is for you. You need to find that stirring in your heart. This is, what do I want? What do I desire? What do I believe? What are my passions? And what am I willing to do that might be awkward and fearful that's going to move me forward? I did that. And
That's
it opened up all kinds of doors. Now, granted, there's failures along the way, awkward moments, silly moments, moments that were lessons for me, filled with wisdom. And that really started our agency, Spirit Media. So I was doing that on the side, directing live events and doing a lot of corporate stuff, because on the TV station, I was also a commercial director. So I didn't want to conflict the commercial side of my TV career with the corporate side of my personal career.
For sure.
Eventually, I left live television and built out the agency. And literally, it was just a season of real blessing. Because again, it was open up doors, go seek opportunities, things. It's funny how there's an old saying is that the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Mm-hmm.
And I was willing to work hard. And the great news was most people look at us and say, oh, you're successful. You're working with celebrities and you're traveling the world and you're doing all these really cool things. And I was. There's no doubt that if you looked at my resume or if you said, what are you doing next week? And I said, well, I'm meeting with such and such, or I'm producing this. It sounded crazy glamorous and crazy fun. And guess what? It was. Really was.
I love that. I love that.
Now, the bad news, and here's the bad news. Sometimes chasing success is that there's a price that you pay, and we have to make value judgments all the time. This is not intended to be an indictment on guys, but I will
Mhm.
say this. Guys are notoriously not really quick on emotional intelligence.
I'd agree with that.
Really, I mean, we see squirrel as, oh gosh,
Yeah, it's too bad.
like,
It's too bad.
where do I go? And I pursue this all the while my high school sweetheart and I were having a family. And guess what? I wasn't around as much as I should have been. I tried to be, the birthday and the party and the soccer game, blah, blah, blah. And I was checking the boxes, but my kids are adults now. And we've had some real heart to hearts. And they've openly said, Dad, we respect your career, all the things you've done, and you've taught us a lot, but you need to know that you weren't present. You weren't there for us. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why wasn't they? No, they said, look, even when you sat in the same room with us, you were thinking about your next project. You were writing your next score. You're crafting your next production. We knew where your head was. And while you're physically with us, your head wasn't with us. And that really kind of stabbed a knife in my heart because I knew without my wife even saying it, she felt the same way. And it began really a journey of me saying, how can I structure this career in a way that maybe I could be a better father? Maybe I could be a better husband. And I think, isn't that what really all of us want? It's not necessarily father, husbands. How can we be the best version of ourselves? That while we pursue all these professional things, they shouldn't come at dear price. They should come at the price of hard work, of diligence, of commitment, of sweat and tears sometimes. But if there's people and bodies that you love that are part of the trail on the way that you left, I don't think that's what any of us really want.
Yeah,
And
not at
so
all.
being cognizant of that now, I look back and that would be my encouragement for anybody in this field. Anybody in this field. If your eyes wide open, remember the big picture, remember the big purpose, and be thankful that if you're called into this space of the creative world, be so thankful. Be so thankful, but use it as a blessing to people you love, not as a penalty.
I love that. I love that. I can tell, Bill, you're a man of passion. You have a very real passion for the business you created, for
Mhm.
family, for the loved ones around you. I can see it oozing from you. I can also tell you're definitely a charismatic guy, and you're very good at bringing on emotion. And I imagine that that contributes to the greatness of the company that you've built and just everything there. So my question for you is: so obviously you have your lovely sweetheart who's with you along your side this whole time. Um, and then obviously your family's close by. Whenever you started Spirit here, did you bring people from your past job over with you to start that, or what did that look like? I'm kind of curious. What was your support group there?
Well, you build a network. Again, I'm talking about opening doors and meeting people. You develop a network along the way. There's an
Okay.
old saying that your network is your net worth, and that you will be a product of the people you associate with, the media that you consume, and the books you read. And so I learned that early on, that surrounding myself with people that pushed me, held me accountable, inspired me, was going to help me be the best version of myself. And I was very fortunate to meet people that actually worked in other media entities, actually. Didn't work in the ABC network space with me. Actually, one worked in the NBC space. Another one worked for a large scale production house that did stuff with ESPN and all that. And it was the three of us that got together to say, let's do this. Let's build this thing out. And those were the roots of this company. Now, as it turned out, I ended up buying them out, and they both went on to form other really exciting enterprises of which we would contract and collaborate with each other. But we found that relationship turned out to be a powerful way for us to structure both. I mean, a smart way to do business, but also a smart way to be able to focus on the things that was really important to us. And then, of course, along the way, there were more. When I left live broadcast television, there's a lot of folks that have been in the live broadcasting world that That's the only world they know. And unfortunately, because of competition with now streaming services and cable networks and all these other media outlets, live local, especially local broadcast, was having a really tough time. And there were a lot of layoffs. A lot of layoffs. I watched whole stations get gutted and have their employee base cut in half.
Oh my gosh.
So I became the patron saint of former broadcast employees, and it was a great way to not only be a voice of encouragement to let them know there's life on the other side, but to be able to handpick people that I thought, wow, you'd be a great addition to our agency, or I'd love to be able to contract with you. And so my network grew as the media landscape changed.
Yeah, you probably just had this plethora of people to choose from who were just so great at what they did, but just got beat up
Yeah.
by the company. So yeah, wow, what a story. I'm kind of curious. So for young entrepreneurs, for just people starting off, I think oftentimes the day to day can get a little bit confusing or maybe even seem a little bit daunting as far
Yeah.
as what basket to put your eggs in. I'm just kind of curious at Spirit Media, what does your day to day typically look?
Well, it starts off, there's a ritual, involves coffee. No, I do.
Alrighty.
I am a
I'm
big
taking
coffee
notes. I'm taking notes.
I am a big coffee drinker, and but I also start every day just remembering what is the most important thing.
Okay.
What is the most important thing? I think there's a lot, especially in running a business, small or large, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of moving pieces. And so, as the president of the company, yes, I'm still charged with making sure that payroll goes out through our payroll teams, making sure that HR is doing its thing, making sure our infrastructure is working. For example, our communication system, our time management system, all those different systems, they're so important. And in any business, you won't be measured by your goals. You'll be measured by the quality of your systems.
Love that. I love
And
that.
so recognizing that means that, and that means that maybe being an entrepreneur is not for everybody.
Hmm.
Because I could tell you, I didn't go into this thinking, I'm going to be a business person. No. Fact, truth be told, throughout high school, college, I never took a single business class, ever.
Okay.
I was like focused on the arts. That was my passion, storytelling and creative arts and visual, blah, blah, blah. And it was only after I really started doing the side hustle that I realized, oh my gosh, if I do a side hustle, I not only have to manage myself and a team, but I also have to invoice for this, decide what the contract looks like. What are the terms of this contract? What are the risks legally, professionally? What about the tax consequences? You enter into a whole field of areas that you might say, dang, I missed that class. And I did. But, and I say this, if you're passionate about it, you find a way to learn. And it's kind of a joke. I don't know if where you live, sometimes people are promoting different business things. And I remember,
Dallas. I'm in Dallas.
oh, Dallas, it's like Mecca of all these business things.
Most definitely.
And I remember seeing a freeway sign that says, um, business opportunity, work, and it said PD part-time or work FT. Full time. And I'm thinking, oh, gosh, you liars. If it's really a business, it's not part time, full time, it's all the time.
Too true. It's too true.
Because if you aren't, and even last night, I hate to say it, and I say this from the perspective that I love what I do. You know, I'm in LA for some projects next week. And as a part of it, I was going to go through some satellite images of places where we're shooting and things like that, meeting with the teams. And last night, I woke up in the middle of the night going through the load list to go with my art director and say, okay, you know, if we do this, whatever. And then he's got another, oh, it's not in Dallas, it's in Denver. Another project that's going to involve some more technology. And guess what? I was dreaming about that. So it wasn't means I wasn't dreaming about my kids and loving my family, but yeah, all the time is something that's one of the great joys when you love this craft. And I would encourage someone to really make that decision because you have a learning curve, not just as an artist, but as a entrepreneur. And it will require a little knowledge about taxes, about banking, about law, about organizational structures, about human relation, HR, call it HR. And if you are very fortunate, you find really smart people to mentor you and to support you in those areas so that you can do the things you love to do and do well.
I love that. I love that. I think that takes so much humility as well on your part to just be able to recognize whenever someone is, like 40 times better at something than you are, and then to
Yeah.
get them on board and say, "Hey, teach me. I'm willing to learn." So I love that.
Well, if I can jump out on that, Harrison, I think it's really part of this craft is that, for example, I'm not going to say everybody's going to be a part of a major motion picture project, but if you've gone to the movies, watch the credits and count the bodies. It means that it takes a team at some level to do things at an exceptionally great level. Now, we can one man show it and do functional work, even good work. But if you want to do brilliant work, surround yourself with brilliant people. And part of that brilliance is being able to say, look, in fact, as a director, I look at my role more like an orchestra conductor. And the thing that I bring to the table is I brought the music. I have the music in front of me. I know what it sounds like in my head, and I know where the instruments come in. But I'm not for a second as an orchestra conductor going to pretend that I'm the best violinist or cellist, or any other instrument. I want to surround myself with masters of their craft so that when I lift my baton, magic comes out, not a garage sale. And the more we raise the bar on what we want to produce, the person we want to become, and the product we want to deliver, there is no way to go on that path without walking it in humility. Always humility. If you go in thinking I'm big stuff, get ready to be shot down.
Yeah.
Be ready to be shot down because you're going to expose, because really arrogance is ignorance.
No
But
doubt.
humility is the path to brilliance.
I love that. I love that. So a little bit of background on myself. My brother and I, we started our own pest control company a while ago. And I'll never forget hiring our first salesman who actually went out and knocked a door for us. And I was just like, he's a little bit better at it than I am, even though I've done it for about probably the past 5 years. Everything's just so much easier. So yeah, I love that. I love the idea of getting everyone on the bus, who is meant to be on that bus before driving it. So, and then as you go, if someone needs to get off, you make adjustments. But
It sounds like you've read Good to Great.
it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
I love that one. So zooming out, Bill, from the micro to the macro, in the media industry right now, specifically with Spirit, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys are facing right now? Just navigating the business space.
I'd say the biggest thing that we face is being able to navigate the fact that the business world is changing. While we still do some things in the entertainment space, our bread and butter is doing corporate communications, nonprofit communications, and it's either strategy, which is based upon my book, The 7 Disciplines of Relationship Marketing, or it is video production, or it is producing live event experiences. So all of those three things still require to have that you have a business model and a business client that's ready to receive that and ready to move forward with that. And what we're experiencing right now is we're seeing a lot of mergers, a lot of acquisition, sometimes fear in the market. And one company might be going crazy. And those are great clients to have because they're willing to invest and they see the potential and the ROI of investing in media. And then there are those that maybe they're being affected by the tariffs. Maybe they're affected by trade or war. And I literally have seen that where clients have been impacted both by tariffs, war, the uncertainty of supply chains. And so, it where someone might have hired you because it was what the marketing team said they had to do, they're now saying, we'll hire you, but we need ROI. And you have to prove ROI. I'm not paying for pretty pictures. I want those pretty pictures to turn into cash. And how does that down the line produce cash, whether it be in helping accelerate a go-to-market strategy, whether it is in enabling your sales team or whether it is opening the door to a market that might not have considered it because, oh, now they understand it. Whatever it is, think ROI because that's ultimately why people are hiring you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's an interesting way to think on that. How I guess kind of just sticking on that topic of ROI within your own company, how do you go about making sure that you're maximizing the kind of like the utility that you get out of your employees?
Well, number one, it goes back to that systems thing we talked about earlier. One, we have very clear roles. We understand what our roles or responsibilities are, and there is not a single project that doesn't have a project manager. And that project manager is responsible for looking at, we literally build out a Gantt chart that says, this is what happens here. And we share that with our clients so that everybody can see this is what's happening. Here are the benchmarks. Here's who's going to do it and when it's going to be done by. And here's how we measure success. So because we've put those systems in place, it allows us to take whether it's a 30-day, 90-day, or a 12-month or 18-month project, and be able to track it properly, and then for each one of us, account for how many hours did it take to go into that project and to that particular piece. That serves two purposes. Number one, it holds us accountable to measure, are we doing things efficiently? And are we getting things done in the time we promised? But also, it gives us a template for our review process. We worked with a former NASA astronaut. We've done some stuff with NASA. And I remember they had this saying that said, the project is not done until you've done the debrief. And the debrief, or what we call a SWOT, is an analysis on that project that we do internally and with our client that says, what did you do? What were the strengths of that project? What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities? And what are the threats of that project? And then we can evaluate how long it took to do that. Did we measure properly? Did we underestimate what it was going to take to do that? And then at the end of that, not just say, what have we learned, but now ask the question, how can we do it better? And we do live in a world where there's a lot of tools and a lot of resources that can make us do things faster, but not always better. And so we look at those things very carefully. Very, very carefully, because we hold not only the quality of the product at a high, really high benchmark, but we also believe in the principle of authorship. When you say authentic, basically authentic comes from the same root we get author. And to be able to author a product and to be able to be the source of that creativity, we can leverage tools, but the tools never do the work for us. We do the work. And that's kind of part of the artisan authentic approach we take to it. Now, does that mean that sometimes it's not as fast as what we could whip out with ChatGPT? Darn right. But it means that when people get a product from us, it isn't a homogenized salad that has become a blend of every other piece of media. It is uniquely theirs. And hopefully not only uniquely theirs, but it's uniquely better.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's awesome. I couldn't have put that better myself. I love that. We've just got a couple minutes left, so I'll pose one more question for you, Bill. For our entrepreneurs out there listening, it can kind of what we were talking about earlier, it can be such a balancing act to try and keep work life and then personal life both afloat. Oftentimes one sinks and the other one floats, and it's hard to juggle. I'm just curious, what habits or routines do you have as a leader in your personal life and then also in that workspace that have brought you success that you think would be valuable for new entrepreneurs to hear?
Well, probably the single biggest thing, and at the risk of going back, telling you a little story, one of the things that people know me for is not just, oh, Bill's a director, Bill's won these awards, or done all these different things, but probably one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me is that I died. And part of it was, well, just to give you the backstory.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
I told you about me juggling my priorities as a father, as a husband, as a producer. And I had an opportunity to do a documentary project. And I thought, wow, this could be good. It's a change of the model because when you do a documentary project, you literally dive into the project, but you get to manage things a little bit better. You're not just at the whim of a client and their schedule. You're in the pursuit of a story and telling it. And of course, the other side of it is too, you don't just do the project and it's done. You do the project and then it goes to distribution. And that's where you should theoretically make your revenue. And there's a great opportunity once you've done the production to have distribution. And by the way, anybody watching this thing, it's all about the production. Just remember, any production that doesn't have distribution is a closet hobby. All due respect, look, a lot of us do a lot of things for fun, but recognize, do not mistake it for a business if you don't have distribution. Okay. Quick tip. And I had been in the business long enough to know that I needed distribution. And after producing this documentary, we got a call from a company out of Nashville and they said, "We love your product and we really would like to distribute it. And if you could fly to Nashville, we got a check. Do that deposit check for the residuals and excited to work with you." And I thought, man, this is so great, really. Because I thought my model's going to change and maybe I could be a better husband, be a better father, maybe have a more lucrative business model. So it was January 20th, 1999, that I jumped on a plane with my buddy, Timothy Greenidge, my best buddy. He's a killer gospel singer, and he's a giant guy, looks like a NFL lineman. And, to meet me, you'd go, "Oh, you're Irish, you must be descended from leprechauns." So
Uh-huh.
it gives you a little clue. And so we're on this plane, we get on, and on that day, I remember, I'll never forget it. I just remember thinking as I looked out the window, today my life is gonna change. Today my life is going to change. And we took off and, the clouds start to rise up and just get that sense of anticipation. But that day was different because while I started out very exuberant, I started to feel sick. And I couldn't put my finger on it. It was like something's wrong. And it's like, am I nauseated and whatever? And I'm never sick, ever sick, let alone on planes because I fly all the time. But it felt like everything was closing in on me. And it got so bad, I turned to Tim and I said, "Tim, something's not right." And that's the last thing I said. My eyes just rolled back in my head. My body fell limp in the seat and my heart stopped.
My gosh.
Very fortunately, Tim was with me because he reached over, he began pounding me on the chest, going, "Bill, Bill," trying to get me back. And nothing happened. But Tim, being the big guy and the best friend that he is, he picked me up and he put me in the aisle and he began doing chest compressions on me. And he continued to press, 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 press. And as Tim tells me, he realized, he goes, I'm going to have to break his ribs. I'm just going to have to break his ribs. And just as he pulls back his fist to just give me the punch of a lifetime, I took a breath. Now, long story short, we did emergency landing. Went to cardiac wing. I ended up being diagnosed with a syndrome called neurocardiogenic syncope. It's actually malignant. Neurocardiogenic means the brain and the heart are out of sync.
My
It
goodness.
it's a weird thing, and I have an extreme form of it. And the only way they can address it, they don't know what causes it. The only way they can address it is they give you a pacemaker.
Okay, gotcha.
And so that year, I became a cyborg. And this very pacer was implanted in my chest right there with cords going down to my heart that monitors me. And because of what I have, my heart rate drops down to a dangerously low rate, about as much as a half a dozen times a day. And that little device triggers me and gets my heart going again. Now, there's so much more to the story in terms of what I experienced on the other side that changed my life. And I
Believe it.
write about it in my book. So if you ever get a chance, if you can go to drm.com, there's like a link and you can get the book. I even have a workshop where I teach all the stuff that I'm now doing with companies and corporations, because it's led to this massive movement about marketing and media and message. But the most important thing, and this is the most important thing, this really gets to the heart of your question. How do I start every day? I start every day with the recognition when I take a breath that I didn't earn it, I don't necessarily deserve it. It's not like I wrote a check for it, get my breath today. Every breath you and I take is a gift. It is a gift. And all respect to those people that have discomfort with this, but I'll get spiritual for a second. It kind of happens when you die, you get that way.
Please do.
But I believe it's a gift from God. And that gift is not just a breath to say, "Oh, I got a gift." I believe it's a confirmation that you are here for a purpose. And we might not know that purpose. And we might not even believe that we have a purpose. But that breath that you take, if you woke up today, you're here for a reason. And for those of us in this business or in the arts, one of the most powerful blessings of it is that we have a medium that can impact millions of lives. Millions of lives. It's almost like a sacred trust that says, while there's a lot of people doing great things, you have within your skill set the ability to do profound things. And so when you go back and you say, how do I start my day? It's that recognition. I'm here for a reason. I came back for a reason, and I honestly wish everybody could die and then come back just to cement that. But my hope is anybody that watches this will take to heart that they have been given a gift. First, with the gift of life, and second, with the gift of creativity. And that they will take that not just as a fun hobby or a fun career, but it is a powerful opportunity to live a purpose that can impact millions of lives. And I pray that we all capture that. And if we do that, I think we can make a difference together.
Thank you, Bill. That's beautiful. That is beautifully said. That gave me chills as I was listening to you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love the idea of starting your day like that. I think I don't know, I don't even know if I have so much to be grateful for, but coming back from being dead, passing to the other side of the veil and then coming back this way, I can just imagine that that is such a real feeling of gratitude. Thank you, Bill. I'm so grateful to have you on the podcast today. We hope the listeners today gleaned some amazing insights. We'll catch you next time on the thread, and you guys have a great rest of your day.